Well, welcome everyone. My name is Roger Remington and I work at the Vignelli Center. I want to welcome you all especially to our Design Conversation lecture tonight, our monthly lecture series. We hope you remember to come back every month. It's a different speaker, a different topic. It's my pleasure tonight to mention the fact that this lecture series is sponsored by an RIT alum, a very successful designer working in the Philadelphia area named Chris Bailey, and we're very much appreciating his support for our lecture series. My job is to throw the ball to my good colleague Josh Owen, but before I do, I just want to say one more thing. Several of our Design Conversation lecturers have come back for repeat performances, and that's going to be true tonight with our guest. And so that puts them in a very special category for us. And so we especially appreciate their coming and their talking about their work. So welcome, Alan.
Thank you, Roger, and welcome everyone. I'm Josh Owen, Chair of the Industrial Design Program, for those of you who don't know me. Alan Heller founded Heller Incorporated in 1970. Then, as now, he's dedicated to good design, industrial production, and reasonable prices. Today, Heller housewares and furniture can be found in homes, offices, and museum collections throughout the world. For 46 years, that's exactly how old I am, Alan has collaborated with some of the world's leading designers and architects. These include Massimo Vignelli, Philippe Starck, Vico Magistretti, Mario Bellini, and Frank Gehry. Heller products, which today are manufactured solely in the U.S., have received numerous prestigious design awards, including 2 Compasso d'Oros, Italy's highest design award, and Germany's Red Dot and IF Design Awards for technology. Throughout his career, Alan Heller has worked closely with manufacturers of innovative technologies, both in Europe and the U.S. Alan holds a number of patents, including one for Ergo, a revolutionary stool he designed for active seating. Alan graduated from the New School, New York, with a BA in economics. He lives in New York City. It's my great pleasure to welcome back a wonderful friend to the Vignelli Center, to the Industrial Design Program, to RIT, Alan Heller.
Thank you. Roger, Josh, thanks for inviting me back. The truth of the matter is they said we're going to keep on inviting you back till you get it right. So this is only my second time. There may be more. Coming here is, for me, a lot more than being able to lecture with you guys. The Vignelli Center, for me, started in 1969, before there was even a thought of a Vignelli Center. I met Massimo and Lella around that time. And in 1970, Massimo did our logo, which you can see up there. And it says that he did it at the exact same time that he was doing the logo of Knoll. So the aspects of what Vignelli stands for has been also part of what I do. Massimo was my mentor. I miss Massimo all the time. And it says that when I'm working on projects, invariably I look at it through the eyes of Massimo. Okay, now how does this work? I went to Milano in 1969, and I knew about 4 different words. One was cappuccino, which you can see. One was fegato, which is liver, which I had to learn quickly because I can't stand liver. The other word, which is something that was very, very precious for me, and you'll see it throughout a lot of the work, is arcobaleno. I love the way it was very, very onomatopoeic, but arcobaleno was rainbow, and you'll see how that has influenced. Okay. The key things in terms of what we look at is, number one is that timeless design. This is something that I've always looked at, and this is also where Massimo came from. There's lots of ways of looking at things. Timeless means it's going to last forever. And then there's another, and I'll describe it later, of what I call Gianni Versace. Really big, then the next year, a lot of people we operate from an aspect of timeless design. The other thing that I am continuously looking at is industrial production and technology in terms of materials. It's almost that I work backwards. I'm looking for materials, industrial production, and then with that, I figure out what we can do with it, and then after that, I figure out who would be the appropriate designer to work with. Started out with our first product, which was the dinnerware that Massimo designed. We introduced it in January 1971, and by July of that year, it was already included in the Museum of Modern Art Design collection. When we talk about timelessness, we introduced this in 1971, and we still produce it now. These are our rainbow mugs, or Arco. This is, and I'm sort of going to jump around different places, but this is a product that Massimo designed, and it is that I would say Massimo was one of the greatest archers, and he could shoot an arrow, and it would always hit the target right in the bullseye. This is an example of what I had to do is move the target to his arrow. This was a product called Quatrefoil, and nice looking. And then I sometimes joke that we captured 100% of the world's Quatrefoil market, and we sold very, 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 very few. This was a design success and a business failure. Massimo, being Italian, designed the cup, and that you can see like right at the edge there, it's a curved thing, and so that the handle became integrated with the cup itself. It's not like something was jammed onto it. We introduced this, and within 2 weeks, we started getting complaints because in Italy, when they make coffee, they do it espresso size. In the United States, when they drink coffee, they pour it to the top. What happened with this, the more that it poured to the top, it came down over the handle. What was it? What would you call it, Josh?
Burning waterfall?
Yeah.
Scalding waterfall?
Yeah. But anyway, we were getting complaints, and after like a month, we were getting 35 to 40 every single day. And I said to Massimo, what we're going to have to do is somehow fill that in. And Massimo said, no, you're going to have to teach people in America how to drink espresso. This is before Starbucks came along. This is another failure. We had a lot of pressure from our representatives one year that we should be coming out with, quote, Southwest colors. We came out with this, and it was a complete flop, and then we went back to our regular colors again. One of the philosophies of the company is taking basic products and what I call knocking them up. In the United States, there's a philosophy of taking something and, quote, knocking it off. So, for example, you see the toilet brush that Philippe Starck designed for us, obviously looking very, very different than, let's say, traditional toilet brushes. On the other side, you see this wastewear basket that's on an angle, and I thought it was absolutely brilliant. We licensed it from an Italian company, and when you threw, let's say, some paper, it was that angle. The thing is that in our warehouse, we had office, and we had somebody that came in every night to clean up, and they could not understand the wastewear basket on an angle, and we'd come in the morning, and the waster basket would be against the wall, so it would be standing straight up. She couldn't understand it. This is a whole bunch of what we're confronted with till today. You have our level of design, and then you have this mass level of just terrible stuff. The Maestro designers that we work with, you see Vico Magistretti, Frank Gehry, Massimo Lella, and Vico Magistretti. What I do is, after we've developed the idea of what we can do with material, a certain production, and then I decide what we're going to do, then what I do is say, okay, who would be the appropriate designer that could take this and make it into the product I want. I haven't included it in this slide, but I basically had like 3 types of designers. One would be form, which would be Massimo. 2 would be form and technology, which would be Mario Bellini. And you'll see later why I chose Mario Bellini. The third level of design that I would do is, and I call it Richard Sapper, which would be design and something sort of mechanical. Each of them has a very, very different approach. This is what I call, as it classic versus, you have on one side, you have the Gianni Versace, and on the other side, it says you have what I would call a classic Armani blazer. We choose blazers. It's not right or wrong, it's just that's what we do. Okay, the criteria, and I went over that. There's the technology. Mario Bellini, after I decided I wanted to work with him in terms of our furniture, one of the reasons is the classic chair, the cab chair, is a leather, almost t-shirt, that is put over a metal structure. That I like the design. On the other side, you see a calculator that was done, I think, I'm not sure which Japanese company, but not only was it a good design, but it had almost like a rubberized surface over the whole thing, and so that when you were pressing the buttons, you know, the numbers and so forth, there was a whole sensual feel to it. So for me, the first thing I do is I look at design and say, would I want to work with them? But secondly, what I do is, and this is where I spend a lot of time, looking at every single article about the designer to see what his thinking is. So with Mario, it was design, obviously, and with the calculator, it was understanding technology. This is a little video on Mario. Why isn't it playing?
In 1998, and in 2001, the Bellini Chair won the Compasso d'Oro, Italy's highest design award, along with rave reviews from the international press. Like all our chairs, the Bellini Chair is industrially produced. The Bellini Chair is perfect for all uses, in restaurants, museums, offices, events, and homes all around the world. The UltraBellini takes the chair to a new level. Produced in high-gloss nylon, it's an amazingly elegant chair. The Arco Bellini by Mario and Claudio Bellini is made of transparent polycarbonate or nylon polymer. Stable and functional, it can stack up to 26 high. The The MV collection is another design breakthrough. With its self-cushioning polymer seat, it's won major awards for design technology. And with its refined aesthetic, it fits beautifully into any setting, indoor or outdoor. Lobbies, exterior lounges, waiting rooms, terraces, gardens, or homes.
Of how the first gas-injected molded chair came about. In our houseware division, I was working with a contract molder that was in Iowa, and they were doing handles for Amana refrigeration. So you had the handle, but it was done with gas injection. They injected the plastic, then fractionally seconds afterwards, they injected gas, which pushed a certain amount of the plastic out, but you were able to get curves. And I was absolutely fascinated with the idea of it, and I was very friendly with the owner, and every time I would go out there, he would give me more information. And I said, you know, at some point, I will use that technology. And 15 years later, that was the basis of the Bellini chair. When I decided that I was going to work with Mario Bellini on it for, let's say, what was that? The calculator, and also the cab chair, I made an appointment with Mario, flew to Milan. He didn't know anything about me, but I knew absolutely everything about him. And so I showed him the dinnerware, and he was aware of that. And I showed him the toilet brush that Philippe Starck had designed. He was aware of that. So it gave me a sense of credibility. For the first 3/4 of an hour in the meeting, I did not discuss anything in terms of design. I discussed totally the philosophical way that we were going to have a company. We were going to do industrial production, to do it with technology, a la the gas, and this was important, we were going to do, because we were in Milan's center of design and center of fashion, we were going to do classic blazers, again, not Gianni Versace. After I went through all of that, then I discussed the technology. Frank Gehry, it was an interesting thing, because what I did is I went to Frank, and this is his Disney concert hall. I said, we have a process where we can take your architecture and turn it into furniture.
Probably the most celebrated architect working today, Frank Gehry has single-handedly changed conventional ideas about architecture. We asked him to create furniture as unique and beautiful as his buildings. The award-winning Frank Gehry furniture collection is like no other furniture in the world. It's perfect in museums and public spaces, and makes for stunning indoor and outdoor groupings. High-gloss surfaces and flowing lines, the Frank Gehry UltraCube is sculpture in space.
When I went to Frank and discussed what we wanted to do, and then you see the product that he designed, it is basically the first time where you see the designer's thinking process turn into furniture. So it was all based on his architecture, and then out of that we designed the Frank Gehry collection. Oh, this is a shot. The colors came from a sculpture that Frank Gehry had designed, had done in Paris, and it was dedicated to Sophie Calle, a feminist writer. On the other side, you see the breezeway at Frank's office, and we took and added color, and all of a sudden it just had a different look than the traditional silver we were doing. This is Vico Magistretti. Oops, do I have to? Okay.
In the dazzling array of designs he produced over a long career, Nico Magistrati always made designs which were simple, rational, elegant, and anonymous. The S-shaped legs of Selene, his classic from the 70s, enables the chair to withstand stress in a graceful way. Nico Magistrati's last chair. The new Gaudi is slim, refined, stackable, and comfortable, and that's good design.
If I talk faster, would you be able to sign faster?
Yeah.
Okay, I was joking. Obviously, we're all related to Massimo, and this is a little information on Massimo. This chair, you're seeing Massimo design it, and this is it in its progress. It's a rocking chair, and I had decided design for me is relatively easy, but what I want to do is take every piece we have and just move it up into a level of technology. This chair has a soft touch, and so when you feel it, it just gives a different sensation of just a regular rotomolded product. These are various products that we do that are design icons, which we are producing in the United States. And this is part of my thinking. Does the world need another chair? Josh goes to the Selene every year, and there are probably 50 new chairs. We came out with the Bellini chair, and that basically is our classic chair. About 4 years ago, I came home, and my wife, who's a writer, was sitting on a large exercise ball. And I said, "That's the ugliest thing I've ever seen." She said, "Sit on it." And I put on my weight right in my gut, and I could feel it. And she said, "This is the whole basis of yoga and Pilates. By strengthening the core, it strengthens your back." And about 6 months later, I was working late in the office, and just sort of thinking about it, and I drew a ball with a stick figure sitting on it. When I looked at it, I said, the only place where the stick figure is touching the ball is where the stick figure's butt was. So I drew another circle, and I cut off 1/3, moved it away, 1/3, and we had a tube. Out of the tube, we did convolutes, and we made a mold, and it's amazing sitting on this. It's the same sense of sitting on an exercise ball, except it's nicer looking, doesn't take up space, doesn't pick up dirt.
Join the Ergo revolution. Ergo helps you sit as nature intended, using your core muscles to hold your body upright. Ergo is intelligent design, combining the benefits of an exercise ball with the comfort of a cushioned seat. By engaging your core muscles, Ergo takes the work out of working out. Studies show that healthy sitting can improve concentration and productivity. This makes Ergo perfect for offices and classrooms, hotels, hospitals, cafeterias, casual restaurants, waiting rooms, dorms, and libraries. Ergo makes for fun public seating and is also compact enough for the smallest space. After sitting on Ergo, ordinary chairs seem, well, just ordinary. It's ergonomic, ergo, it's designed for you. It's Ergo.
We introduced the Ergo, and a number of people said you should do a smaller size Ergo, because in a lot of schools they have kids sitting on these small exercise balls and they pay attention. And I'm wondering, how is it that by sitting on a ball can somebody pay attention? So we did a lot of research, and we have a paper from Washington State which says sitting on an uneven surface like the Ergo, there's a minimum of 17% better concentration. And I said, wow, this is not only for kids, it's for all of us. I sometimes joke in the office that I sit on 2 Ergos and my concentration is going up 34%. So we came out with the Ergo, we came out with the kids Ergo, and we recently came out with a wider Ergo, and that's for the growing obesity in the United States. And now we're working on additional sizes. We're working on we're just sort of internally calling it a Pancake Ergo. It'll be about like this, about this high, and then you can put it on a seat. For example, every single one of us could be having a Ergo sitting on it, on these chairs. And the other thing that we're working on now is they're developing a lot of desks that go up and down. We're doing an Ergo right now, we're calling it Perch, which will be about 26 inches, and when you sit on it, it will be 24 inches, and that will be sort of a leaning, sitting perch. A major problem that we came out with this year is that we've been selling this and doing it via Amazon, and it was being shipped by FedEx and UPS. FedEx and UPS changed the way that they calculate their pricing, not based upon weight, but based upon cube. So an Ergo, which weighs 7 pounds and 2 pounds for a box, it's 9 pounds. FedEx and UPS calculated at 38 pounds, which has completely destroyed our ability to sell onesie-twosies. And we're doing some nice growing business with Amazon. So I started saying the only way that we're going to really be able to build this business is how can we do a collapsible Ergo? And you guys are all involved with industrial design. The Ergo is done blow molded. I don't know if you all learned about that in classes? We're taking a completely different approach now, and we're going to be doing it rotational molded. Rotational molded will have wall thickness always the same, and it will be a 7 pound now Ergo that will be weighing a 5 pounds. Plus, we're going to be able to collapse it to like this, which will enable us not only to be able to ship via UPS and FedEx, but be able to export it, because now we can be fitting a lot in a container versus doing a lot of air. When I'm involved with something, I have to look in terms of product development, how can it be manufactured? Then the warehousing, the shipping, all of this is involved with absolutely everything we do. The next thing is financing. So things that we may have a really good idea, what does it cost to manufacture? When we're manufacturing it, we can't do onesie-twosies because it's industrial production. Then we have to look and say, okay, we have a design, how do we take that and sell it? That involves marketing, and then this is something that is really important. when we came out with the Bellini chair, about a year later, we decided to get a trademark on it. Trademark is the same as Coca-Cola bottle, looks like that. And it says that anybody that wants to do a drink or anything that puts it into the shape of a Coke bottle, Coke will absolutely sue them. It's also appropriate that we're up in Rochester because at one point, Kodak did all their film in a yellow box. Anybody who did anything in a yellow box got stopped. So we, on one hand, are looking to develop product, and on a second level, since we have to protect the intellectual rights that we have. This top picture was an article, it was in the New York Times. We had a major retailer that knocked off our Bellini chair, and eventually they had to acquiesce because we sued them. On the bottom, you can see product that looks like the Bellini chair, but it's knockoff, and you can see the handle on the top. About 5 months ago, we sued Amazon because they were selling product that was a knockoff of the Bellini chair. You guys know who this is in the sketching?
Oh, good. It is the essence of his entire life and his entire dedication is what you will make him down in history. You know, a designer of affordable prices. You know, nobody else has ever said that before here. You know, you have Louis van der Rohe, less is more. You have Vignelli design is one. And you have the Helen, good design at affordable prices.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Questions?
Do we have, I think we have time for some questions. So, any questions? Roger.
Could you expand a little bit on your meaning of timelessness and design?
I think it's very, very simple. The thing is that I don't look at a product and say, we're going to sell gazillions. I look at a product and say, this is a valid product. And the thing is that if it's valid, it will last for a long time. I think that there are a lot of manufacturers that look and say, how can I make a buck? We've never looked at that. The thing is that my belief is that if we have a good product, it will make money, will make back the cost of the mold, but it's got to be looked at on a long-term basis. Yes, in the back?
What do you shoot for in margins?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear it.
What do you shoot for in margins, in your profit margins?
This is something interesting also. In your classes, you probably look at, okay, what is the cost? What are you going to sell it for? What is it going to retail for? I work backwards and I look and I say, what is the right price for, let's say, whatever it may be? And then I'll work backwards and say, are we working on the margin we want? If, let's say, we're not getting the margin we want, but it's at the right price, maybe we'll sell a large quantity, making less margin on each one, but by selling a larger quantity, bottom line will make money. So it's not based upon, you know, what's the margin. It's based upon what is this product valid for in the market that we're trying to reach. The Bellini chair in the contract office market is considered one of the most reasonably priced chairs in the marketplace. And the thing is that we're not looking and saying, how do we gouge whoever is the buyer? We look at it and say, this is a great price. Does that answer your question? Yes?
So, if, correct me if I'm wrong, but, so you start business on paper, and then you start, yes, you're a business major, right? You're a business major, right?
Yeah.
Major in business, okay. So what changed from how did you change from business to design? How did you make that switch?
There wasn't a switch. It was exactly at the same time. You know, it's that traditionally a business person doesn't relate to design. Traditionally, a design person doesn't relate to business. So I am left brain and right brain at the same time, and absolutely everything I do has to meet those criteria. The other thing is, on a business basis, if I had to look and listen to a sales or marketing person, they might say, why do a Bellini chair? Why don't you do a Rubbermaid chair? That's not what we do. So the whole aspect, all of you are coming from design in terms of everything you're doing. It's the same thing for us, but it's also half business and half design, and we don't compromise on either.
I think you mentioned about like when you try to find a design, you will search for timeless and classic. Can you say more about, share more about like what kind of characteristics of timeless in design? Like what kind of like features do you think is timeless?
Josh, can you?
What are the characteristics you see as timeless design? What do you look for?
I had taught a course in graduate school at Harvard in design, and after the lecture, the first person asked me, what kind of market research do you do? And I said, well, don't do any. He said, well, how do you know what to come out with? I said, I come out with what I like, and I assume there will be some other people. That's also one reason why I've never worked for another company. I would never get hired. So it's an aspect of my choice of what I consider classic. I have to take all kinds of things into consideration. It is studying design the same way that you guys study design. It is a constant learning process. And you put all these things together, and that's how we come out with a product. But the criteria for me, it has to be a classic. So when you look at our products, each of them is unique. It is also interesting that the philosophy that we have is also the same philosophy that Massimo had. And you go back there and you look at all the work that he did. Absolutely every single one of them is a classic, and is valid today as it was when it was done.
Do you find yourself licensing your designs to manufacturers more, or do you have your own form of production?
I'm sorry, what was it?
Say it one more time. Do you find that you guys often license out your designs to manufacturers to produce, or do you have your own means of manufacturing?
He's asking whether you license your products.
No.
He self-produces. He is the manufacturer. Yeah.
As the needs of like furniture in the home are changing, as our society evolves in terms of like the amount of space people might have in this current age versus like 20 years ago, how do you think Heller has responded to the changing needs of consumers in terms of space?
Was it, Josh?
As space concerns come up, I think you're alluding to as the population increases, how has Heller addressed that? Yeah?
It's interesting. I have friends that are in the houseware industry, and one of my friends said, in relationship to Ergo, how's the bouncy thing doing? I said, it's growing nicely. And he said, well, you have to come out with lots and lots of products. I said, why? He said, that's how you grow a business, by coming out with lots and lots of products. And I responded to him, what if we have a great product and we sell it to a lot more people? It's just a different way of looking at things, the same way classic. We're not interested in coming out with hundreds of products and every year come out with this and in this, a la Walmart or Target. So as the population increases, matter of fact, there's going to be more people that will be needing this. We don't look to say, hey, is it, how do we reach, how do we change for a growing population? When you have a population of 315, 320 million, if we only reach 2 million out of that, we'll have a phenomenally good company.
Yeah, what would you recommend to students who are getting ready to graduate and start looking for jobs in design? Is that a good question for you?
What's your recommendation for students who are graduating and looking for jobs?
I think the first thing is that while you're a student, just learn as much as you can. I read huge amounts of magazines. I read 4 newspapers every morning before I even go to work. The thing is that here, as you're taking courses, any little thing that intrigues you, go into it deeper and learn. The other thing is that when you graduate and are going for a job, it's interesting, I look and I say, whoever is doing the interview, at one point, they were where you are. Now it's that's what it is. You're going to be starting out. So the key would be is, how can you find a company where they can nurture your training and you can learn from that?
Do you ever see stopping people from buying knockoffs of your products conflicting with your desire to give it to them as cheaply as possible or as affordable as possible?
What was it?
Knockoffs. How do you feel about knockoffs?
You really want to know? You know.
But you can stand up and ask it. Just speak up.
I wanted to ask, because you say you should stop as many people from making knockoffs of your furniture as possible. Do you find that ever conflicts with your mission to make it as affordable as possible for the end user?
Well, I think that there's all kinds of end users. The thing is that there's the Walmart end user, there's design conscious end user, and each of them may have different criteria. The Walmart consumer may look at, let's say, our Bellini chair and say, well, you can buy a Rubbermaid chair for $9.95. Okay, we'll give a premium to the Bellini chair, wouldn't pay more than $10.99. That's not our customer. Now, is that in terms of doing projects in school, what you're doing is an attitude of where you come from, a solution for a problem that's given. And again, the United States is huge. The thing is that we're not looking to compete in the Walmart Target market, but in the design contract market, our product is considered very, very, very reasonable. And so you have to look and say, you as a designer, what do you want to be long term? You want to be a classic blazer, or do you want to be a Gianni Versace? And so as you learn, you're developing a character of who you are. And that when you go for a job, what you want is to have a place that you can manifest who you are.
Any other questions? Yep, in the front.
So you emphasize a lot the focus on your company on the technology. So I wonder, do you actively go look for new technology to use, or is this something that your team comes up with? Because from what I understood, it was you come across some type of technology and then come up with someone that you see fit to transform that technology into a viable product for the market.
So what was the question?
I think that you're asking about where he finds inspiration in technology. Yeah.
I read like crazy. There's a trade show that just finished, I didn't go to it, in Germany called K. K in German stands for Kunststoff, which is plastic. Huge, huge, huge fair. And what I would do is just walk up and down the aisles And if I saw something that was interesting, I'd watch it, let's say a machine making something, or I'd visit could be BASF that has a new material, and I look at it and I say, what could I do with that material? The thing is that I remember discussing with our office that I was going to the K Fair, and that somebody said, well, what are you looking for? And I said, I don't know. And they said, then why go? I said, because I will discover. And so this is the aspect of all of you. If you do stuff that's been around, you're going to design stuff that's been around. If you can find new ideas and so forth and look at it in a different way, that becomes innovation.
Yeah, you asked the question, does the world need another chair? And I was wondering how you respond to that.
No. I think that this is a whole different philosophical question. I think that our economy is based upon buy more, buy more, buy more, buy more, buy more. I just don't believe in that. And so I think that, you know, Levi's makes a nice pair of jeans. You have them, you'll be buying jeans for the next 15, 20 years. So I think that there's a lot of our economy is based upon just come out with more shit and then sell more shit, and then the next year, quote, Johnny Versace, new shit comes out and you have to get rid of the old shit. I look and I say, that's not where I'm coming from. Yes?
Where do you manufacture your products in various countries, or?
I'm sorry?
Where do you manufacture your products?
We used to manufacture a lot of our products in Italy. In the mid-70s, there were all kinds of strikes at that point, and so we moved the molds for the dinnerware to the United States. Our first Bellini chair was first produced in Italy, and the same thing started to happen, so we made a duplicate mold and moved that to the United States. There's a lot of reasons why we produce in the United States. A lot of people say, why don't you produce in China? The thing is that if you're involved with the idea of who's got the lowest possible price, let's say I'm reasonably smart, Josh is a lot sharper, so if I'm producing in, let's say, China, he'll produce it in Singapore. And I just don't want that as an ingredient in my life. So we produce everything in the United States. We export some, not a lot, but the United States is a huge market, and we're concentrating, that's where we're concentrating.
Do you like Trump more?
I'm sorry, what?
I don't know if I can repeat that.
What was that?
I said, do you like Trump more? Next.
Trump to me is a Johnny Versace.
Other questions?
I'm just curious about some of the other objects that you live with. What are some of your favorite objects in your home that you live with that you were not involved in manufacturing or creating?
Josh, you have to translate for me.
I couldn't hear it myself. Could you say it a little bit louder?
Oh, yeah. I'm just curious about the objects that you live with in your home. What are some of your favorite objects that you live with, that you admire, but that you weren't involved in the design or manufacturing?
For me, when I say, does the world need another chair, there's a huge amount of that same philosophy on anything. So my apartment is very, very minimal. Have a cab chair with arms. I have two Cheska chairs, Breuer. There's hardly any furniture. There are some objects, antiques, but that's basically it. So it's not something that I am looking of, ooh, how can I get at this, or who? I don't have any desire for it. I'm a bad consumer.
Any other questions? All right. Well, this was a spirited conversation. I want to thank Alan for a great talk.
Thank you. Thanks, Glenn.